Andrea, and I'm so excited that you are hanging out with me and Lori and Yvonne today. In our episode, you are going to meet Yvonne and Lori from Humble ISD right outside of Houston. It's a very big district, but they're going to share some of their tips on how they run social media at each of their school buildings, how that rolls in to the social media efforts that they share. And then they're going to talk about just trying new things, Instagram Reels, and some of the features and stories that they've been able to tell. A lot of practical advice in this episode and a lot of laughter, which I love. And as you listen to this, you're going to hear about a few services that they participate in with the company Social School for EDU, which I founded back in 2014. We really try to give you the easy button. And if Instagram is one of those things that you want to do better on with your school, and guys, Instagram has changed so much, even in the last year, it's amazing. This is your last chance to sign up for the fall session of Instagram Bootcamp. It actually starts next week, September 19th. So if you want to join our Instagram Bootcamp, you're going to want to get signed up right now. There's a link in the show notes. You can also head over to socialschoolforedu.com. Under services, you can check out that Instagram Bootcamp and get signed up. And we also have our social media bootcamp program, which talks a little bit more about Facebook and the general setup of social media storytelling and a system to get consistent stories out there. That starts in November. So if you want to get signed up, it's almost filled. And so you're going to want to grab your spot as well over on my website. But now let's get to this week's helpful K-12 PR tip. All right, today's K-12 PR tip is an upcoming event that's happening in the month of October, and it's National Principal Month. Now, Lori and Yvonne are going to share an example of what they did last year for National Principals Month, and it did really well. So you're going to want to lean into what they share. In the show notes, there's actually a couple links to their posts so that you can see exactly what they did. But you guys, now's the time to plan for that. So whether you have one principal or whether you have 30 principals, don't worry about getting everybody involved, but think about how you're going to highlight them. You could ask them a few questions. You could do a simple shout out that just recognizes them using their school photo, their school directory photo, and just recognizing their position. You could get them to answer a few questions of why they love being a principal at whatever school. You could also get students involved, sharing a little testimonial, a video, a written testimonial of what they love about their principal. But it's a great month to be able to highlight the principals that serve your students all month long. If you have a lot of principals, you're going to have to share multiple posts maybe on days, but you guys, now's the time to start thinking about how you're going to honor them instead of trying to do it at the last minute. So that's what we try to do here at Social School for EDU and with this podcast, is to keep you on top of things. So good luck. Let me know what you're doing. I'd love to hear about it over on Twitter. I'm at Andrea Gribble. So that's this week's K-12 PR tip. Now let's get into today's interview with Lori and Yvonne. I am so excited. Lori and Yvonne from Humble ISD are in the house. Welcome, ladies.
Good morning. Thank you.
We are here to have a party, and it's a first because I've never had two different guests on with the same episode. So we're going to see how well I do.
Yeah. Well, it's a kind of a tag team thing. We are, Lori and I, so it's good. We're here for it.
Yes, absolutely. And everyone will learn a little bit more, but I had shared your reel on my Instagram page. So we're going to make sure to give that link to everybody in the show notes of when Lori and Yvonne were making their first Instagram reel, which we're going to talk about today. But first of all, I'd love each of you to kind of share your background and your role at Humble ISD. So Lori, I'm just looking at you. Maybe you can go first, and then we'll hand it off to Yvonne.
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you for having us. I'm super excited to be here. I have been in the public communications department now for 7 years, but I've been with Humble ISD for 15 years. In fact, this month is my 15-year anniversary. So I started out, oh my gosh, my journey started out really as a workroom volunteer mom, who then became a para hired by yours truly, Miss Harris. And then she left me in a classroom full of kids. So I went and got my teaching certificate, and I taught for 8 years at an elementary school. And then she pulled me back over into the communications department. And that's where I've been for the past 7 years. And I love it. And I love her. And we work together fabulously.
Awesome. So Lori, what's your specific title now?
So I am Web Mobile Communications Coordinator. And what that basically means is I handle mass communications for the district, for the campuses. We train the webmasters. We have webmasters at all of our schools, 46 campuses, 47 campuses. We are growing every year. And social media is a big part of my role for the district. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And Yvonne?
So my background is similar to Lori's in that I started as a paraprofessional with Humble long ago, and then went back to school and became a teacher. I taught math, so I like to line my stuff up nice and organized.
Yes, she does.
Miss Lori does not, but that's okay.
That's okay. It's the math English brain that
Yes.
works together so well.
Yeah, and then I worked in instructional technology, teaching teachers how to use technology in the classroom, did professional development, but I've been in public communications now for 8 years.
Okay. Awesome. And Yvonne, what's your title?
I'm Assistant Director of Web Mobile Communications.
Okay. So everybody kind of heard that you guys have 46 or 47 campuses. So tell us a little bit about Humble ISD, like how big is the district, and tell us a little bit about your communications department.
Okay. I will start with like a little bit about like where we are, what we are. So our district is like 105 years old, 104. We had our centennial a few years ago. We are just northeast of Houston. So when you're trying to figure out where Humble is, like when you fly into IH to the airport, you're basically there. We have 6 high schools, 10
middle schools.
10 middle schools and 30 elementary schools. And our district is about 96 square miles. So from our top campus, like in the north to the bottom, it's like a 25-30 minute drive in traffic. So we're big. We have about 7,000 employees and 48,000 students and growing as we just started school last week. So yeah, that's a little bit about Humble. Lori, you can tell a little bit about our department.
Yep. So our public communications department wears many hats. Of course, primarily we are all about communication for our community and our staff, internal and external, but we are also heavily involved in event coordination for our district, convocation. We just successfully ran a bond campaign. We have, yes, we passed. It was great. It's a lot of work, but it was well worth it. We have a lot of exciting things coming up. I think our current department sits at 9 staff members. Is that right, Yvonne? And we run everything from news media to, we have somebody that works part-time in our department and part-time in athletics. He's our multimedia coordinator. We have visual graphic people, video producers. We just have everything you can name. We've got it.
Right. And I like when I think about our department, sometimes Lori and I are 2 of the web mobile team. There's one more person on our team. Her name is Kelsey Hebert. And I say a lot of times that some other members of our department are content creators, and Lori, Kelsey, and I are content distributors. Like they make it, but we get it out, we get the communication out, and we're always listening for feedback and stuff. So that's kind of how our department works.
That's awesome. That's a great description. And you help get those stories out there. So when we talk about how kind of social media fits in your role, I mean, it's a big district.
Yeah.
To have 6 different high schools. And I know that you do have a district-wide Facebook page, a district-wide Instagram. So let's just talk about, kind of how you set up your social media channels. And I'm sure maybe each of your schools has their own. And so how does that all work? And then how do you guys kind of make it work for the district channels you lead?
All right, Lori, is it okay if I
Oh.
start?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, we just jumped, we're ready.
Yep.
So I was gonna take it back to like how we started our Twitter, because we do consider ourselves a Twitter district, and our staff is really on board with that. But many years ago, I think 6/7, somewhere
Yep.
around the time that Lori started in
Right.
the department, our administration at the time was like, okay, we all need to tell our stories, because if we don't tell them, somebody else will, right? So we had a consultant that come in, but then really Lori and we brought in the campus leadership, principals and assistant principals, and we met like 4 times that year, and we created their Twitter accounts. We set up a protocol where all the naming conventions were the same. We had their passwords when they forgot. I mean, we really did a whole lot of hand holding, and we did our first tweets together. We did brainstorms about what you're going to tweet. And we really just like held their hand, because, you know, our age of our administrators was vast, right? We had some young, we had some people who had been doing it 20, 30 years. So it was kind of scary for them at first, but we were there. We may or may not still have a seat in my office for some special friends to come when they do a tweet. It's over there. But that's how we started, was with Twitter, and we really talked the administration through it. And then when the campuses tweeted, or the teachers tweeted, then the campuses were retweeting. We were really heavily involved in then sharing, amplifying that message. So it kind of just grew organically from that process. But they were also getting praise from their assistant superintendent, from the superintendent for doing it. And then we also, you know, we just kept putting it out there and giving them positive feedback on it, and helping when they might have made a little twoops, as we like to call it.
Yep.
So that's how it kind of started. And then when they got comfortable with that, they were like, okay, well, now we want to do Instagram, or okay, now we want to do Facebook. And it was like, okay, you know how to do it. So yes, we'll absolutely set that up for you with the same type of protocols, like the naming convention. But it makes it really easy for campuses to tag other campuses when they're all named very similar with the Twitter.
Okay. And tell me, how did you decide to name those? Because those listening may be trying to clean up some of that. So and I do just want to mention, we'll talk about it a little bit later. You guys are part of the membership group that we run, that offers additional training. You guys actually trained how you rolled out all of these Twitter accounts within your schools in one of those training sessions, probably a year and a half ago or so.
So, you know, math, like how many characters do we have? What can we do? We start just playing around, and there's 15 characters that you get. Humble ISD is 9 letters all by itself. And we are, like I told you at the beginning, we're just northeast of Houston. So we don't get to use HISD for anything. Like HISD is Houston. We are Humble. So it's Humble ISD had to be there. That was 9. And then we just underscored, and then we go by campus initials all the time, right? Like Atascocita High School, AHS. So that was our protocol, is Humble ISD underscore. That's 10. So we have 5 left. And so it's whatever the campus initials are for that, for elementary school, you know, ASE, middle school, CMS, you know, so.
And I will add also, when we were setting up all of these accounts, we worked with our technology department to create campus email accounts so that they're generic and they're not tied to an individual. Because one of the things you learn is, if you have an individual tweeting for a school or a department and they leave, well, they take that information with them 99% of the time. So we have all of their campus accounts connected to a central email that we help maintain, and we have the login to. So if there's ever any trouble or any troubleshooting that needs to happen, we can get in there and help them. And so we just tried to make the process as easy for them as possible, so that they wouldn't be so skeptical about jumping in.
Sure.
And like where we can help in a moment's notice, right? Like if we made sure that they had the email, we know the password to that. We set up their Twitter, we know the password to that. So at any moment we could step in and help if needed.
Well, and
Okay.
naming them with the campus initials, our community knows that those are the official accounts. Because as we all know, students go out there and create accounts. Other people try to create accounts and pretend like they're your campus. But having that central naming protocol has helped our community know which are the official accounts of our schools.
Yeah, absolutely. So Yvonne did a great job of kind of explaining how you're using social media at your campus level or your building locations. Lori, why don't you kind of explain how you use those or how those help feed into what you share on the district side,
Sure.
and what channels do you run for the district?
Sure. Well, we have Twitter, of course, we have Facebook, and we have Instagram, which I just have to give a little shout out. We just hit 5,000 followers this summer. And that was really big for us because a couple of years ago, we started with 15 people. And so it's been a really great channel that continues to grow. And we see even our students engaging with us on that channel. So that's been really great to watch that grow. That's been kind of my baby to get. My goal this summer was to hit 5,000 and we did it. So I was super excited. But having all the other campus channels, because we're so big and there's 3 of us basically in this web mobile portion of our department, there's no way for us to get out there and get the stories from 46 campuses all day long. And so by having them share their stories and their teachers tweeting and sharing, we're able to pull that content either from the district, we send it out from the district by itself. We might talk about it or write a story about it, but mostly we're sharing it, right? They're providing the content and we're just amplifying their message and sharing their story on multiple platforms. So if we have a teacher that's done something fabulous and she's tweeted about it, we might grab it and put it on our district Facebook and our Instagram and help share that story and just increase that engagement. So it's super important for those campuses to tell their stories because that's how we're going to know what's going on in our district. Even our superintendent will say to our teachers, you know, I can't be in all of your classrooms all the time, but when you share on Twitter, I get a great representation of things that are happening out there in the classrooms and the districts. And so it's just a great way to share the message and share the stories.
Yeah. And is it part of your responsibility to watch all those channels? Are you kind of watching the hashtag?
Yeah, all of the above. Yes, we watch because we don't just use social media to share. We use it as a listening tool, right? We use it a lot to listen to what's happening in our community, what our community is saying about things that are going on in the district. And we manage and we monitor that. And it's really an important listening tool because that is where your people are talking. And if you don't listen, if you just put something out there and walk away and you don't listen, then you're not using your channels effectively because that's where people are talking about what's happening in your schools.
It's a two-way conversation, right?
Yes. I feel like I'm almost in social media for schools church right now. You guys are bringing it home for me. I love it. It is a great listening tool and we have to be, it's not just about getting stuff out.
Right.
So I am so excited to hear that you just passed the 5,000 mark on Instagram. And really, you two have not been afraid to try new things when it comes to Instagram. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your use of Instagram Reels because that has really amplified the reach for many schools out there. And so I don't know which one of you wants to go first for, you know, kind of creating your first reel and then how that has helped you tell your story.
Yeah.
We kind of joked about this earlier, and it just speaks volumes to our relationship. You know, we did the boot camp last year, and it stretched us, and like we had to try new things every week, and we were just like, oh yeah, you know, because we are teachers at heart, right? And you just need that summer boost sometimes. And so we got around to, we're like, okay, we're doing a reel because we were getting that point, right? We were going to be in the contest because I am very competitive. So we were like doing it and we're sitting here in my office. You might notice the background. And Lori is like, okay, well, what are we going to do first? And she's like trying to plan it all out. And I'm like, put the phone up there, hit record. I said, come on, let's do it. And then so then we did it and saw that, you know, that's our normal relationship. It's like, just push that. Well, what does that do? What does this do? What does that do? Maybe there's a bleep here and there, but you know, we made it through it. But biggest thing that taught me, or my personality, is that you just have to jump in sometimes. Just jump in and just do it and see what
Right.
happens. I know
And
Lori's got-
Instagram,
yeah.
sorry, I was gonna say Instagram is the perfect place to do that, right? Because your community is going there for the fun, for the
Right.
pictures and the events and the celebrations. And if you're going to take a risk, that's the place to do it, because reels are supposed to be fun and
Yeah.
organic and off the cuff. And
Yeah.
little did I know she was going to record us, but that's just the way it happens. You just have to not be afraid, and you just have to jump in and figure it out. And maybe you have a partner who records you doing it, and it becomes even funnier. And that's the beauty of that platform. So
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just
And-
going to add one thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
One is that we were able to, like, you added the words to it or had that done. And so then we shared that in trainings as we were coming back to school with counselors and various people. It's like, hey, this is us making our first reel. We didn't know how to do it. We had a good time. Like, just play, just have fun. And so it really turned out into, for us, a teaching tool as well, because sometimes people call us, and that because we've been here for a while, they think we know all the answers. And I'm like, we don't have all the answers, but we're willing to try.
right.
Yeah.
And social media changes every day. So you can't have all the answers. You have to just play with the tools and see what works.
Yeah. Yeah. I always get questions and I'm like, I have no idea, but I'm going to try to help you figure this out.
Yeah.
And you were kind of talking about the little Instagram challenge that we had done last spring.
Yeah.
We're changing that into a course now, which starts like next week, you guys. So this is going to be airing on September 12th. So there's still a few spots open if you guys are interested in taking your Instagram to the next level.
Great.
I've got it in the show notes where you can join up. It'll definitely push you out of your comfort zone a little bit.
It will.
But how have you guys been able to utilize now Instagram Reels into some of your storytelling strategies?
Well, I think what we talked about is it's kind of given us the courage to try other things. Like we tried a staff takeover, and we had our last year's teacher of the year take over our Instagram account at the current gala where they announced the new teacher of the year. And so she did a bunch of reels for us and a bunch of video and posts. And it was so great to see it from someone else's perspective. But again, the engagement was so high with all of the stuff that she was sharing. And then we did the same thing for what we call our prize posse day, which is when our education foundation goes out into our campus communities and awards the teachers their grants that they've applied for. They get on the bus and the whole community comes out and they've got pom-poms, and we had a staff member take over the account again that day and do some additional reels. So it's just kind of pushed us to not only see how we can use it, but how we can encourage other people to think about doing it and have other voices on our platforms that represent our staff and our campuses. It's been a lot of fun.
Right, because we can't be everywhere all at the same time. But like for the Education Foundation, we were like, oh, but this person's going to be on the bus. Let's ask them to do it, So it's like to get that eyes and ears into what's happening. It was great. But again, we had never thought about doing that. And then we did after boot camp.
Yeah. So those takeovers are really, really helpful. Again, you have a department of 9, but you have a school district of like almost 50,000 students. So you can't be everywhere. You really have to be able to delegate. So I'm assuming you just had them log into the Instagram page for like the day or a couple days so that they could be able to, upload any kind of stories or reels right into Instagram, right?
Right.
We
Well,
changed the password, yes, for
and the
that
teacher
day.
that did it, it was all on the fly. It was all live that night at the event. So everything she shared was happening in real time. We changed the password, gave her her own password, and then it was great. It was all happening in real time. She didn't have to repost anything or edit anything. It was just all real footage of the event that was happening.
Yeah, that's
We
awesome.
gave some tips and tricks beforehand, like an hour before. We had a little Zoom meeting about it because the event was held at a public place that serves alcoholic beverages, and we are a school district. So it was like, okay, just be aware of when you're filming and what you're filming, and when you're doing your videos. And she did a fabulous job. I think there was one with the Budweiser light in the back. It was at an axe throwing place. It's fine.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've also had some success, with other kind of campaigns that you've done. And now we're just knocking on the door, believe it or not, of October, where it's National Principal Month. So last year you had some success with what you did for National Principal Month. Lori, can you just tell me a little bit about that campaign?
Yeah. Yep. So that was another idea that came out of boot camp. So I'm just going to put a plug in. If you have not done boot camp, you need to do boot camp. There's so many great ideas. We just wanted to celebrate our principals in a fun way. Sometimes they get some negativity out there in the world of social media, and we just want to make it known that they're humans as well. We want to show that side of them. So we created a quick little form for them to fill out and give us a photo of them currently and a photo of them when they were in school. So if it was a high school principal, we asked for a photo of them when they were in high school, or an elementary principal, they had to give us a photo of when they were in elementary. And then we just asked them to tell us what their favorite thing about being a principal is. And so we used a template in Canva, which was another thing that came out of boot camp, these fabulous Canva templates. And we just started sharing it on social media. And as we started sharing these images and these sayings from our principals, more of our principals started responding, because they were watching the engagement. They were watching even the students get excited, and their co-workers at other campuses getting excited. And so it just kind of grew on its own, and the engagement was out the roof. It was fabulous.
We started by that first week of just doing like 1 or 2 a day, because there's more of them than there are days in October that we're at school. So
Yes.
but by the last week, Lori was having to do 3 or 4 a day to get them all in, because they were submitting and excited, and it was so cute, like little pickups. I loved it.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
we're going to send
real quick. Sorry. One thing that was really great about that was the community connection, because right after that is when we kicked off our Bond 2022 campaign. And so it was also a nice way to just kind of start bringing our community into our platforms and watching what we were sharing and watching what we were doing, and just growing that audience, and just using something simple like that to engage your community and grow your audience will help you as you're starting to communicate those bigger ideas at the district, like a bond campaign. I mean, we really had that community connection going, and it just kind of fed nicely right into it.
Yeah, I love it. You're starting to tell a story, and with some of those features, then all of a sudden it leads into conversations and comments and
Right.
like you said, that engagement that helps carry over for some of the asks that you have to do from time to time. I love what you said in regards to, you have a lot of principals. You didn't wait until you had responses from all of your principals. You started doing it, and you're like, hey, like, here they are, and you get the opportunity. Because some of us that are, and some of you that are listening right now are just like, I have to be fair. And it's like, in a big district or even a small district, it's like, if you wait for everybody, you might not get everybody, and then you can't do it at all. And so you kind of use some almost positive peer pressure, but you got that kind of fear missing out for some of those others. I was like, hey, this isn't so bad. This is pretty easy.
Yeah.
Did you end up getting almost everybody to participate?
I think there was just a few that didn't, but but they do have serious peer pressure among them, the principals. I mean, they meet regularly, and I think there was even a meeting during this time. And so I got a couple of emails that were like, hey, I really don't have a cute picture, please, I'm sorry. And they're like, apologizing for not doing it. I'm like, it's okay, it's a fun thing, but know that we still love you. And I think there was even one that wrote that, and Lori still shared, but we didn't have a past picture,
Right. Still shared whatever they submitted. Yeah. And the competition was fierce. They were like, especially among the high school principals, they were like, oh no, you are not going to get more engagement than we are. So, and the photos they shared were just precious.
I mean, one of them looked like
Kid president.
Kid president. Yes, he had his little tie on. Oh my gosh, I'm so cute.
That's awesome. Any kind of throwback pictures, right?
Yeah.
Your community loves them. So you mentioned the social media boot camp, which everybody, the next social media boot camp is coming up at the beginning of November. It's starting. That's a 5-week program that we have to support you. And then you guys are also part of our annual, you did that the one time, then our annual membership group. And so I'd love for you guys to kind of tell our listeners how some of those programs have helped support your efforts. So let's just start with that boot camp that's coming up in November. You guys both participated in that boot camp kind of together, which that is a per person cost of $395. But tell me about the impact and kind of that whole process of the boot camp.
Okay,
Go ahead,
boot
Yvonne.
camp. Sorry.
Yep.
She said, "Go ahead, Yvonne." I said, "Okay, I'll go." So the boot camp, I loved that. I love the format of it. It was great investment. It's in the summer for school. We thought, oh, this could be fine, but then back to school happens. But but what we learned, I feel like as we've talked today, we've said we got this idea at boot camp. We got this idea at boot camp. It really, the format of like having an informational session and then coming back together and then having an assignment and build and sharing it with that community, like the people that were in our group, we got to know them. We were sharing things back and forth. There was a Facebook group that we got to talk. It really did kind of create this small community of that we're all in this together. We're learning. Nobody's an expert here. And so I really enjoyed it. I liked the challenge of it and the feedback that came weekly, and that it didn't last too long. Like sometimes, you're like, you join something, it's like, okay, we're going to do that in a few weeks. And then you don't because school happens. But with that every week, it was like, it held us accountable and we had to do it. And, we might've been doing stuff on the last second, but we got it done.
Well, and I would also say it was really great to see what other people were doing and to kind of watch how it was being received on their end. Because if you're ever hesitant to try something on your platforms and you have this group of people that you can go out to their sites and watch what they're doing and see the kind of reactions they're getting, then you're like, okay, maybe we shouldn't be so hesitant. Maybe we can try this. And so it really gave us that community to just bounce off of each other of how's it going for you? What did you learn? What could we do different? And it was great. It's a super experience.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. And it was kind of that small group feel.
Yes.
And we love that it's just 5 weeks. You can make a lot of progress in 5 weeks,
Yeah.
even if you are doing things at the last second, right, Yvonne?
Yeah.
And then on an ongoing basis, now you're part of our membership group. So we have a great community there that offers, continued kind of training and support. Got an awesome, huge Canva template directory and resources. How has Lori kind of that helped, continue to encourage you guys and support your social media efforts there at Humble?
Yeah, well, I would say a lot of the same thing of the boot camp is that community to go to bounce ideas off of. But one thing for me that really has helped is the ready to go resources that are just at your disposal. I mean, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I did some trainings this summer and I was looking for statistics and resources and things to pull into my training. And I just went into all the files that are available to the membership and was able to pull things that people have already researched and got facts on. And I didn't have to spend my time going out there and recreating a big training presentation. So all of those ready to use resources that are in the membership are just amazing. I mean, and it just helps you work smarter, right? Not harder.
Yeah. Anything you'd add, Yvonne?
I'm like, that was, she did a great job. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's kind of our community. And we love supporting through a lot of our free resources, but we try to make it's like hitting the easy button, I think. And it's a community of people who totally understand what you do,
Right.
which has really been powerful. So
Well, and
as
it also, I was just going to say, it also makes you realize that you're on the right track. Because maybe I was putting together something for my presentation and I thought, is this still current? Is this still relevant? And then I would go look at things that are in the resources and be like, okay, other people are talking about this, other people are using this. So it helps you just know that what you're doing is still applicable and relevant. Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. So as we wrap up, what would you say is your best social media tip? And so I don't know if each of you have your own, but Yvonne, why don't you start, Yvonne?
Okay. Mine is like, just don't be afraid to share, right? You're the best person that's going to tell your story. But if you don't tell it, somebody else will, kind of thing. So my advice is like, just do it. Just put it out there. It's going to be okay.
Awesome. I love it. How about you, Lori?
Well, and my best tip is if you are going to just do it, you have to be engaged and you have to be an active participant. Social media is meant to be a two-way street. You can't just put information out there and walk away. You have to be committed to monitoring and listening and watching what's happening when you share that information. So it's a huge commitment, but it's worth it because you build your allies and you build your advocates for your district that way. And so you just have to really be committed to be involved in it.
Yeah. Awesome. So just like I love hanging out with both of you, I'm sure our listeners want to hang out with you. So what would you say is the best way to stay connected? We're going to give them all of the links for the Humble social media channels. But do you guys both want to leave your email address in case anybody wants to contact you that way? Or what do you think, Yvonne?
Our email either or Twitter, but email is pretty easy for both of us. It's first name dot last name. So Yvonne.Harris at humbleisd.net. And then Lori's follows the same suit, Lori.Maugans at humbleisd.net. And then my Twitter is at Yvonne P. Harris, because so rude. There's already a Yvonne Harris out there. I had to put my middle initial in there. But so that's me at Yvonne P. Harris, and Lori is at Lori Maugans.
Yep. And I would say professionally, that's the platform that we both use most to communicate professional development with our peers. Twitter is a great way to reach out to us.
Awesome. So we'll put both of those Twitter handles and just your emails in case people need those in the show notes, guys. So check those out. If you're interested in signing up for boot camp or joining the membership or learning more, head on over to socialschoolforedu.com. We've got a whole section on services, so you can check it out there, and then you'd be able to hang out, especially in the membership group, hang out with Lori and Yvonne even more. I'm so proud of what you guys have done in Humble, and you've taught me how to say Humble, which is looks like it's humble, but it's not. You got to go with the silent H. But you guys have done such a great job. I'm so proud of you, and I'm excited to cheer you on as you share your stories this school year.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. And remember, just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Do it.
And then be ready to listen.
Be ready to listen. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys all for joining us this week. We will see you next week with another fabulous guest. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.